Hello, everybody. My name is Ray. Welcome to the Evangelical Dark Web. Today, we're going to dive into an uncomfortable subject, but one that Big Eva will not touch. And we're going to ask ourselves, what does the Bible say about showering with your daughter? And again, there are no shortages of articles written along the lines that pose the question, what does the Bible say about blank? And that blank, fill in the blank at the end, is usually something trite or basic. The subject of showering with your daughters sounds like a no-brainer, but yet in an age where Big Eva wants to defend what is plainly evil, the Christian cannot be too sure of what Big Eva will rush to call good next. And the man that Big Eva largely supported to become president, Joe Biden, is documented in his own daughter's diary to have showered with her. It's time to see whether Big Eva is serious about believing all survivors, but so far Big Eva has been silent on this specific issue. So the facts of the case, or the facts of what we're talking about right now, is that the National File obtained a photocopy of Ashley Biden's diary that was created during her own drug rehabilitation. This diary was obtained as part of a Project Veritas whistleblower who turned it over to the National File in late October 2020 for its published. So this was published before the election of 2020. Project Veritas claims that they passed on this because they didn't have enough evidence verifying the authenticity. National File in their article specifies how much they went to, how the length that they went to prove the authenticity of it, of this diary that they have a photocopy of. So the story was otherwise suppressed by mainstream media outlets and big tech censorship ahead of the 2020 election. However, a recent FBI raid on a Project Veritas's operative's home in a federal probe regarding the alleged theft of the diary has resurfaced this story for many to hear about for the first time, including myself. Biden's FBI executing a search warrant to recover an artifact belonging to a personal relative does prove or lend credibility, at very least, to the authenticity of this diary. So what are the contents that we're discussing in the diary? So let's just read the quote here. It's going to be in this bottom left one. I remember somewhat having been sexualized with Caroline. I remember having sex with friends at a young age, sharing or showers with my dad, probably not appropriate. That's the key section there. Being turned on when I wasn't supposed to be. So again, this is pretty disturbing stuff, and the context of this is that Ashley Biden, who's Joe Biden's daughter, is recounting how she got to where she is now in terms of some of the problems that she's facing in her own life, and she's writing about facing her own trauma. Now, it is alleged that this material was stolen. I don't quite, again, we don't know for sure that this material was stolen or whether it was a Hunter Biden, I left my laptop behind at a repair shop type of deal, because Project Veritas claims that the people that brought it to him found it, and they could be right, they could be wrong. I don't really tend to believe those people, but not Project Veritas, but the story that they found it in a hotel room and it was left by the previous occupant. I don't really buy that all that much, but again, it's not been proven that this was a stolen artifact. So with that said, what does the Bible say about this subject? The Bible is quite clear about this subject in Leviticus chapter 18, 6 and 7. And I'm going to be reading from the NASB 95. None of you shall approach any blood relative of his to uncover nakedness. I am the Lord. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father, that is the nakedness of your mother. She is your mother. You are not to uncover her nakedness. So this is in the same chapter of the Bible that condemns homosexuality. Coincidence? No, because this is a list in scripture of things you cannot do sexually. So it starts out with incest. The Bible declares that incest is not wincest, and it ends with bestiality. Or at least this section does. So with that said, uh, again, the Bible's pretty credible on this issue as far as condemning incest from as far as, again, in this passage. It's pretty clear. And while we can, approach any blood relative, that refers to a blood relative in this context specifically is referring to like your immediate family. So your children and your siblings. That's who it's referring to in this context, and then it expands from there. Now, uncovering the nakedness should be kept in mind with the nakedness of Genesis 3:7, when they saw that they were naked in the Garden of Eden. So, taking a shower with your daughter is not something that fathers do, and it's obviously regarded as perversion, even in a depraved society such as our own. So, Joe Biden is recalled as having done such act with his daughter on multiple occasions at an unspecified period in her life. This recollection is not made in the form of an accusation, nor is there an obvious material interest in lying about it. While his diary is not definitive proof that Joe Biden has molested his own daughter, it is a greater amount of impeachable evidence than was ever collected against Donald Trump. It is a more reliable testimony than was ever wielded against Brett Kavanaugh or even Roy Moore. So that's kind of like the key point to keep in mind is, to me, I think this is impeachable. This is an impeachable offense if he molested his own daughter. That's impeachable in my opinion. I don't really care about the statute of limitations. This is where we go into the point about this is such an embarrassment to the president, that this is such a misdemeanor of the office. Even if he didn't do it during the office, this is not something that should be tolerated regardless, in my opinion. Again, our standards for justice, our weights and measures are completely lopsided, and this is extremely prevalent in the religious elites. Part of why I wanted to talk about this issue is not to own the libs, but to point out that religious elites should be tackling such controversial and uncomfortable subjects such as the President of the United States possibly having molested his own daughter. That just speaks to the state of our nation, the state of the collective soul of our nation, and those who are gathered in it. And that's not a good place to be for the United States. But unfortunately, our religious leaders do not care about the biblical standard of evidence. They will pursue accusations against Mike Stone on far less. And, we can expect further silence from Big Eva on this issue. I don't really think this issue should really disappear. The fact that they executed a search warrant on it kind of means it's probably a real authentic diary. And shouldn't we ask these questions? Should not the President of the United States answer for these diary entries? I think that he should. And it's an embarrassment that it's come this far. So that's really all I got to say about that. Again, I'm trying to ask the right questions, like why is the daughter of the President of the United States writing about having showered with her father in a way that was probably not appropriate? These are answers that the American citizens deserve. These are answers that Big Eva should be asking, because when Christians step into the public square, we need to bring a biblical standard of righteousness to politics. That's what we need to do. So that's all I got to say about that. Again, I don't want to harp on this issue too long. I'm not doing this to own the libs. I am doing this to raise questions. So have a blessed day. Let me know what you think about what I think, and I will catch you on the next one.